Howdy once again, it's tubalcain, your YouTube shop teacher. And this is video 484 and it's entitled All About Hole Saws. Now I was planning a video on sawing with large hole saws and talking about the speeds, and in fact I am going to do that, but that will be the following one, 385. I did realize that I needed to talk about hole saws at length, I think, before I talked about using them and the low speeds and all of that. And this is a continuing saga of drilling and forming large holes at low speeds. So go back and watch the previous videos if you have not already. So that's just a little intro right now. I've been working with metal for, well, 50 years. So I use hole saws quite often, not so much lately, and I'm not sure that I ever showed them in an actual video. So these are just a few that I have. I'm going to show you some more. This will be a little bit of show and tell. I hope it doesn't come across as bragging as well. But when you get into the real large ones, we got to run them at low speed, and there's just a lot to talk about. And remember that a hole saw is really nothing more than, this is a bandsaw blade, a piece of one, nothing more than a circular blade. Although these are all welded into one piece, formed on and welded onto this top disc along with the tapped holes. And there are different brands and different ways that the manufacturers made this. I tend to favor the Starrett. I'll tell you why. Boy, that got your attention. Everybody loves the Starrett red and that nice logo. And I've had this box since December of '83. Remember, I don't really buy anything new. I get some new things at garage sales and auctions though. But here is a set, and it goes from 7/8, well, there's a 3/4. That might, I don't know if that's missing or not, up to 3-inch, along with several arbors, and then usually some extra drills, and even a drill with a spring on it to eject the plug. I don't know how well that works. I don't remember if I have used it or not. But to me, the Starrett are premium quality, and even though Starrett in general does not sell in retail stores, you don't see it all that much, but you would see in at least our local hardware store these Starrett boxes for hole saws, even though they didn't sell the precision instruments there. There are lots of other quality makes of hole saws. Here, for instance, is Morse, the real McCoy. There's Ideal, that's bimetal, so that's really a good one, even though it's missing a tooth, but then again, so am I. Well, bimetal is super quality, but the Ideal company is probably selling them in conjunction with their electrical tools, because plumbers and electricians use a lot of these, and they're rough on them because they might be hitting nails, and that's why you see broken teeth on some of them. Now, at a garage sale or a auction, fist fights will break out among the men trying to buy these hole saws, but often they're in a box, and when they get them home, they're going to find about half of them are ruined, and their fist fight was all for naught. There's Greenlee. Again, that's more along the line of electricians, kind of like the Ideal. Did I mention Lennox? You know, they make great blades of all kinds. That's a major company. And I got some Miller's Falls around here, but I'm sure they're not in business anymore. And I have some Marvel saws. So just look for the major brands and you'll be in good shape. Avoid the real cheap little ones. Well, I don't know if that's one. Avoid the little ones that you might find in a discount store that do not have a high-speed steel or bimetal teeth on them or interchangeable arbors. Some of the store brands might be okay. For instance, this Ace Hardware, that's pretty old because it still has just a sticker on it. It does have UPC back there, but this makes it 10 or 20 years old. But it is bimetal, and it is called Professional, so that's probably made by a pretty good company. But notice that it says that the pilot bit is required. Let me talk a little bit about the arbors. Now, some of these saws are ready to use as they come out of the package. They don't have a separate arbor. That's all built in. It is a separate drill bit, of course, pilot bit. Those are almost always 1/4 inch. But on the larger one, and that won't slip because that's welded on, I believe. But in the larger ones like the Starrett and other brands, they have these pins here. And those pins lock into the holes right here. These big holes here are for attempting to eject the plug, which sometimes is a real problem. But you know, that's a nice feature. This may interchange with some other brands, I'm not real sure. But when you get into the smaller ones, there is no room for those two little pins. Furthermore, there's probably less of a tendency for them to slip because of the small diameter. And there's a brand new Starrett. This is a metric one. But what I was going to show you here, for instance, like this Ideal, and I already loosened that up. Sometimes you almost need a vise. But see, that's ready to go just by screwing it in up to the shoulder, as tight as you can get it. Well, it's going to be self-tightening, so you don't need to worry about that. But on the Starretts, and I noticed that some of these are kind of hard to operate, like that one. I don't know if they eventually get buggered up, but some of them are quite easy to operate. And the idea was that it didn't require tools in order to change the saw. So looking at it from this side, you have to line it up. Sometimes you have to back it up a little bit, and I never did like that. That, to me, was a minor problem because you got that play there. Can you see that? A little bit of play. In other words, they're not all the way up to the shoulder. But very easy to get off if everything's in good condition and change sizes. I like that system a lot. And I think Starrett is the leader in that as far as I'm concerned. And I don't work for them. As I said, virtually all the pilot drills are 1/4 inch. And I want to show you something. Maybe there's two. Yeah, there's two of them in there. But they have a flat. But do you see anything unusual about this flat? That's right, it's tapered, so that once the set screw is up against it, it doesn't tend to want to draw its way out. Matter of fact, quite the opposite. It will self-tighten. Now, you're not going to see that feature on all of them. For instance, this, well, I don't know what brand it is, but that's just one side flat, because it would have taken extra effort, extra thought, and extra expense to put that taper on there. Would it not? And don't try to just use a regular drill bit, because you're probably going to need to apply the set screw onto the flutes if it's just a regular 1/4 inch jobber's bit. Let me show you one other. Well, here's a standard jobber's bit, and I guess it would work. Look where the set screw is, right there, and you'd want it to stick out about that much. So the set screw would catch, well, pretty close to where the end of the flute is, but it probably would work in a pinch, but it's not really correct. And let me show you one other one here I thought that was really unique, and I don't know what brand it is, but look at all of the different tapered steps that they have on there. 3 different ones. So that was pretty clever. I'll see if I can read the name on there. I would venture a guess that hole saws are probably used more by electricians and carpenters and homeowners and plumbers than what they are used in the machine shop. But nevertheless, I thought it was might be a good video to make. But taking a look, let's say that I wanted to use this, what is it, 2 1/4 inch. And you know, there were several sizes that were real popular for installing door knobs. I think it was 2 3/8. So, real quickly, find the right size, assemble it, and then Starrett even included this extension. Hexagon on this end, and you're ready to go. You know what I just noticed? There's 2 different sizes here of hex. So that is for this size. I didn't know they made the 2 different sizes, and they're both genuine Starrett. So you would have to use this with the big hex. I haven't looked through this box in a long time. I got 2 different boxes of a hole saw, so I'm just going to root through here real quickly just to see if there's anything of note that might be interesting. There's another arbor. Looks See, it's very difficult to get the plug out, especially if it's real deep. So somebody just left that in there out of pure laziness or orneriness. Must have been a teenager in the house. And there's the Greenlee with the quick change starter kit. It says, never have used it. As you can see, it's still sealed. Oh, here is the little Black & Decker, I believe, and I would say avoid these, and they generally have a real small shank on them, like 1/4 inch, and you won't like that. And there's another, oh, Simmons. I don't know if they're still around, but everything that Simmons made was like super quality. I used to use their bandsaw blades, and let's see what's in here if it's a speed chart. And there's another Simmons. Yes, there's a speed chart, and I was just getting ready to show you the Starrett speed chart. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that when I start cutting, because this tells you the speed that you need to run these at. And the reason you see so many damaged hole saws is people are running them way too fast. Sometimes you can't help it, especially out on the job site. You're just going to have to do whatever it takes to get that hole cut. And this is the last box of holes, so we'll see what's in there. Oh, pretty much more of the same. Here is the ones that I do not recommend. I think this is Black & Decker. No offense to them, but 1/4 inch just isn't enough to hang on to. Maybe it is in the smaller sizes in wood, but this would not be suitable for metalworking, so stay away from those if you run into them at a garage sale. I don't see the need for saws this small in diameter. That's looks like it's only about 3/4 at the very most. Okay, there's some pretty beat up ones from going through drywall. There's no telling what you run into at an auction. But that's about the end of it. Alright, let's move on. Well, that concludes this video, number 484, on all about hole saws. Be sure and watch the follow-up video, number 485, where I talk about speeds and I do some demonstrations with the actual hole saws. Now, at the end of the video here, in a few moments, I'll put a couple stills of the Starrett hole saw RPM chart, which might be useful to some of you people out there. This is tubalcain. Thank you for watching.